would you say? What did you get and understood by the cycle of the life?
Are you talking about
The
Sadhana?
Buddhist. Yeah.
Sadhana. I love Sadhana. I think it's such a cool concept. So you have all these different realms. You have like the human realm, the ghost realm, demon realm, animal realm, heavenly realm with like gods and goddesses, and the hell realm. I think there's one more, but I
The
forgot at
gods.
the
Ah, the
moment.
demigods. The gods and the
Oh,
demigods.
yeah. Yeah, it's such a cool concept. And it says we're all existing at the same time. So even if we can't see the ghosts or the spirits or whatever, like they're around us all the time. And um, it's all one. It's all like a unified thing, like I was saying before, with the unity consciousness.
Hmm.
And in Buddhism, they say when you die, you just get reborn as another incarnation because energy cannot be created or destroyed. So when you die, like the energy of your soul transfers somewhere else. And depending on how, like what karma you have from your past, from all of your ancestors, from your previous lifetimes, and the karma that you create in this lifetime, will determine what your next incarnation is. So humans have the highest potential of becoming enlightened. That's why so many souls reincarnate as humans, so we can like elevate our consciousness to nirvana. And yeah, I just love this because I like diving into like past lives and um like prophecy, foretelling, like seeing visions and stuff and just understanding like all of this is happening right now. So that's really cool. And karma is a concept where it's not like a justice system. Nothing is good or bad. Like we think in such a dualistic
Hmm.
nature of like white and black, good and bad, or good versus
Hmm.
evil, whatever. But that's not real. It's just like even if you're a murderer in this lifetime, the next lifetime you'll be like, I don't know, something that I can't say. Like maybe a better example is if you're attached to like money or material goods, maybe in the next lifetime you are reborn as like a gecko that like sticks on the house all the time. So I just find this really interesting. And yeah, it also helps me like I check myself every day, like if I'm acting in alignment with good values and good morals and just try to be a good person because I
Hmm.
know that like my karma will be easier next time. And yeah, what about you? What are your thoughts on it?
Yes, I'm still a little bit confused about this concept with nirvana because then it inquires that you need to, of course, be enlightened to not be reborn. That's also this is kind of confusing me still because from what I
Hmm.
get is the best way is to get out of the cycle of being reborn. Because for Buddhists also life is suffering. It's not meant in
Hmm.
a bad way or something. It just shows in the realms that there are like a lot of like pictures of different suffering, and I don't know. I feel like I'm still in the process of understanding why this is then existing, like the sadhana,
Hmm.
when when the highest power or the highest for a Buddhist would be to go nirvana, where you get out of
Hmm.
this circle, of being in the reincarnation. Do you know maybe
Hmm.
more? Because I sometimes I'm confused at this.
It's hard because you're not supposed to aim for nirvana. And that was the trap that I got stuck in the beginning. I was like, oh, how can I like end the cycle? How can I stop my karma? I need to escape the wheel.
Hmm.
Um, I need to become enlightened. But I think after I had those experiences I was telling you about before, where I did experience like unity, the unified field of consciousness separate from my bodily existence. Um, and it's beautiful there. And I also had like near death experiences. So, like, it's really beautiful there. And it would be nice to like just be this beautiful oneness all the time. But the consciousness can't evolve
Hmm.
if you're not in the cycle. So if you just escape, then like your work here is done. But like we are a blob of consciousness trying to understand itself, trying to evolve to a higher consciousness, and I got an alarm. um yeah, this is the problem. You shouldn't aim for enlightenment. When
Hmm.
you put it as the goal, then already you lost the purpose of understanding the nature of the cycle. And that's the, it's like, oh, it was enraging me for years
Mm,
because I
yeah, me
also didn't
too.
really get this concept.
Yeah, so what does it mean then? Like, why the hell are we doing this then, you know? But of course, in the end, it's to be, you know, a good human and like to be happy with yourself. Like it's like of course it's like a high science also behind this. There are a lot of things that you can't explain for Buddhists, you know. There's this one
Mhm.
thing what really interests me. When Buddhists, when they like die during meditation, that they're still being in this posture. And I'm like, It's not possible. Like you can't tell me, you know? There are like some signs where I'm like, I don't know. I don't know what how can I explain that? You know,
Mhm.
when I dived into Buddhism, like I studied it and I went there, I went to my lessons, and I felt like I saw a different perception of the people when they saw me. You know, I felt like the people were more open now. They saw that I'm working on myself. Like I don't know, maybe I absorbed something, you know, like an energy that told the people, oh my God, I feel good, you know? I don't know what it was, but you know, since that, I feel like it has a crazy energy on you. And
Mhm.
yeah, I just feel it's so much more than just being a good person. It's also really like benefiting for every side, you know?
Mhm.
Yes.
Definitely.
Yes, and you know what? For this, I brought something up. It's like a little story, you know, because I
Mhm.
always click better with like Buddhist story, and I prepared something for these things about, you know, the cycle of life. So you know, there's a really famous story. It's called that a thief entered the hut of a Zen master, and he was surprised to find nothing there. The master said, if you want something, take my coat. I wish you warmth in the cold night. The thief was confused and took the coat. So he later regretted what he had done and returned this to the master. So the master said, thank you. You have given me the opportunity to let go. So teaching everything we possess is temporarily. So letting go leads to freedom. That is also like
Mhm.
this was like a thing where I was like, oh, you know, we cry when we like lose stuff or something. But in the end,
Yeah.
it's just like a little pain, you know, like for a second. And afterwards it doesn't mean
Mhm.
anything. So
Yeah.
yeah.
It's
Yes.
so funny. Yeah, this lesson is so present in my life because for whatever reason, it's like it's always the universe is always testing me in this way. I
Mhm.
got robbed every year for 5 years in a row, and I got stolen from like many times before that. And always my reaction is, oh, it's okay. I can live without it. I'm not attached to material things. I can easily let it go. I'm
Mhm.
so much more than the possessions that I have. And I don't remember a lot of the stuff that got taken, probably. But I am tired of this lesson. So I'm like, okay, I get the message. Like, I get the lesson, dude. Like, whoever, whatever. Please allow me to stop receiving this lesson.
Course,
Like, I
of
am
course.
detached from the material, almost too much detached. So why, maybe that's the lesson is
But that
take
is
better
it.
care.
Yeah, but that, yeah. I just want to say that's interesting because you already do this stuff, and you get tempted. So maybe you still, I don't know. I feel like sometimes it's really like a lesson where it will show you or it want to tell you, girl, you still in it. You know, you did all the work, but you still in this kind of problem where you need to get out. And I
Yeah.
think this it won't happen again if you stop being too attached to it. Of course, but it's a path. It's a path,
Hmm.
something you study or something. Like I understand you don't have so much money at the moment, and when you got something, of course, it has another value for you. And I think also we don't have to be perfect Buddhists and stuff. Like we also have our problems. Sometimes we have days where we're not the perfect people. And that's also
Yeah.
really, really important to say. Even Buddhists, like I mean, really people they live in a monastery, they do also mistakes, and that's
Hmm.
not the part of being judged by it. It's a part to observe yourself and to see what is it benefiting you, what you're doing to yourself or not. You know, that's really something that I learned too.
Hmm.
Yes, it's not an easy path, but for that, I have a second story.
Yeah.
This
Before
now,
you start on
tell me,
that
tell
one,
me.
my theory is that, and I know maybe it's a joke halfway, but maybe it's true. My theory is like I had an incarnation in the past where he or she was like a mastermind thief or like robber or something, and now I'm like paying the consequences in this lifetime. Like
Oh
that energy is
no.
coming back to me.
Oh
But
no.
I do think like this sometimes, and it's just kind of funny.
Interesting. Oh yeah, before I read this story, like, could you elaborate from what you had like in your experience, when you had this near death like situation? Like, are you afraid now of dying and stuff also? Like,
No, no, I never was.
you never
Um,
were. Okay, that's perfect. That's perfect. But
yeah.
haven't, I don't know, like elaborate at first, of course, then I will ask questions
Mm.
about this.
Um, when I was younger, like when I was 12, I understood the nature of suffering already. Like I empathized so much with animals dying for food that I couldn't bear to like I vowed to never eat animals again. Um, that's changed now because I have a different view, but yeah, I was just like a very sensitive, hyper compassionate, empathetic being from a very young age. And yeah, I struggled with like depression and suicide thoughts and attempts when I was like 13. So I was also like very reckless my whole life, just super like easygoing about anything, like not caring about danger, not even believing that danger exists almost. I just lived in a reality that was like, there is no danger. Like I can do whatever I want, whenever I want, and it'll be fine. And I found myself in so many situations where I was not fine and I was in danger. So it's almost like my whole life I was actively seeking death because my reason for that now is like I'm not doing that anymore, but because I already had a taste of it and I'm like, okay, I know what's coming and I've accepted what's there, what's at the other side for me, and I've made peace with that. But um yeah, it's almost like I was seeking death because I know it's so much better than like this silly human life. Like I just get so tired of being a human. I feel like I'm in a skin that doesn't belong to me. It's so alien to exist
Mhm.
as a human being and trying to understand like all these rules and ways of being and how to interact with the world. I'd rather just be like floating consciousness soup in my bliss of non-existence because it's so much more fun over there.
Oh, no, 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 no. We don't want to tempt people now to go there. It should it shouldn't be
No,
tempting for doing this. No, no, no. No,
that's the thing. So
definitely.
that was my take on death. It's like I was I'm also like many Scorpio planets. So I don't know. The theme is like death and rebirth because I know after death you become rebirthed. And I loved like the new versions of myself that came every time I died, whether it was symbolically or um in the real world.
But then this is a question because you said now then it gets better and you float. But then you said we're getting reborn. So what? How can I transfer this?
The soul can spend time in like different realms. So if you die and your soul doesn't is still like earthbound because it has some unfinished business, then it'll stick around and maybe like be a ghost, for example. Or um, yeah, like the consciousness can also be in a limbo state. Like we are simultaneously in that state all the time without awareness of it. But we have this temporary like flesh and human existence in this lifetime that we also have to like it limits our perception. So we can't see everything all the time all at once, but we can feel that state of being through meditation, through other states of consciousness. Like some people
Mm-hmm.
take drugs to feel that. And um yeah, did that answer your question?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's like a
Are you
it's
seduced by
good.
this?
Sparkly, sparkly.
You're like,
No,
yes.
yes, honey. I love that. No, of course. No, it's like a long answer, but it's like a complex topic, and yeah, I don't know. It's your point of view of this because you already have experienced something like this, so that's just interesting to hear. I
It's so
also,
hard to explain, man, I swear.
huh?
I feel like every idea or concept that can be materialized into into language is already like you just cut off half of what it is, if that makes
Oh,
sense.
and of course it does. It does. It's like even when you like had a mushroom trip or whatever you like
Hmm.
or like we tried in our lives, like it is something that we can just maybe say, oh, it was nice, it was beautiful colors, but in this moment where you perceive, mm, 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 totally different,
Mm.
totally different.
Yeah,
I
it has
couldn't,
such a
I
bigger
couldn't
meaning.
compare, huh?
It has such a bigger meaning than like
Definitely,
seeing the
definitely.
tree breathing and stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. I can just tell you he blooms, but man, he blooms. Like, it's something you have to come and see. Like this is what people, I don't know, people try way too much sometimes. I feel like to try to put everything in words and getting so stuck in this, like in this
Hmm.
thought without even like trying to see more and like just experiencing, because I
Mm.
was a little bit disappointed when I had this meditation and I was like telling this guy, "Hey, I'm so happy," and and he just were telling me like, "Oh, it's just a thought that comes up your mind, let it fly away," and stuff like this. For me, it was just like cool to experience that. Doesn't matter what it means, Sometimes
Yeah.
we don't have to put this in words, like, and I didn't say I'm enlightened or something. I just wanted to share that, and then in this same moment, I'm like, sometimes it's better to keep it for yourself, like to
Hmm.
like just experience and love to experience that, So that's
Yeah.
really interesting, and yeah, I don't know, but what do you think about this kind of topic? With this, what I already cut off a little bit with this Buddhist, where they died in this post. There are also like now some documentaries about this. And some people of the temple they were sending this in the groups. And I was like,
Hmm.
This fascinating, Like there was now a lama, A lama is like for people who don't know, it's like one of those highest teachers in Tibetan, like Buddhists, because of course there are also Buddhism like different kind of like styles. And I'm going to a Tibetan one. So yeah, so we call it lama, and somebody died like really recently, but he was old, yeah, like he was meditating, and he was also like dying through the meditation, and they also found him like this, and I'm like, what the fuck, like that is crazy. How is it possible? Normally like a body, it sinks, normally, from what I guess, because there's this part when the body like, when it really gets stiff, like the stiffness of the corp. So it wasn't in this situation, so but even then, like it needs to sink down. I don't know, what is your impression about this? What have you heard?
Nothing. I don't really
Okay, I
understand.
will I will send it to you. It's like
Okay.
like it's like when people die, and they're just remaining. They're remaining in the city, or like in this position for meditation. They're still
Hmm.
remaining, because normally when people die, they just they fall, you know?
Really? I guess I don't know about that. I thought they just like get frozen in time. Not time, but in space. I thought that they just die and then they're just like they start to get their body gets harder and they like kind of freeze
Yeah.
in one position.
Yeah, that could be maybe happening, but even like Buddhists, they have a daily life. They're not like sitting there for days alone. Sometimes maybe they do, of course, but they're also living in a monastery and stuff. So there are people, they still eat together. Also like maybe for the people who don't know, like, I don't know, was it also in Thailand like this, where you had to beg for food? Where like Buddhists really want to live without possessions, so it means also no food, nothing at all, and you have to go to the town. You have to take like a basket with you, and you ask the people, "Hey, do you have something to offer to me?" And yeah, they get fed by them. Is it like this? Was it in Thailand like this?
Yeah, when I was living in the temples, I went on the alms rounds on the walks with all of the monks, and they don't even have to beg. People just like it's the main religion over there, and
Mhm.
people have so much respect for those who ordain to become a monk and live in the temple. So because they respect them so much and their lifestyle and their practices,
Mhm.
they just want to cook food for them. And what we do is like we walk in a line, everyone has their bowls, um, and people just like dump food into their bowls, and then the monk like will do a prayer for that person. I just thought of like a really funny a really funny story like this lady. I didn't understand what she said. It was in Burmese,
Uh-huh.
but um I could tell that it was like a really intense interaction because she gave the food and then she like went to the feet of the monk and she was like blah blah blah. I don't know, just like very frantic and like really intense energy. And I asked later like what was she saying? And the monk was laughing and he was like, "Oh, she was saying like please strike down my sister. She wronged me and I'm so angry at her and she's evil." So
Oh.
and then she like gave the food. So it's so funny like even with these beautiful methods of existing and living, humans will still find a way to somehow like allow their funny little like ideas into the mix. It's just like
Yeah, of
oh my
course, of
God.
course.
And the craziest part is like at this temple, the monks were not always following the rules. Like sometimes they would watch TV and smoke cigars
That's
and
what
have
I
children.
mean. That's what I mean. Nobody is like, sitting above them and saying like, "Hey, you can't do this." I don't know.
Yeah,
The highest leader you will always have is yourself. So if you
exactly. That's the
can't,
problem. It's like we are our own gurus. We shouldn't put anyone on a pedestal. So the fact that we have a llama and we have like all of these things, it doesn't make sense to me because the teaching in itself is like, I am equal to you. I am equal
Mhm.
to the homeless person, like whatever it is. And I'm equal to like the dirt, and that's fine.
Yeah.
I mean, I know some things and I have stuff to share, but I don't want to be like worshipped and like someone being like, "Oh, please, Chelsea, like use your magic powers on me."
Was it your holy stick or what? Pachoo! Badabush! Yeah. No, like I got this point. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Like I remember here also in the temple there are like pictures hanging of the Lama, and I'm also a little bit like, yeah, I mean, there are some kind of teachers, like for helping you, and like they're trying to get this lesson through. And also, like, I guess because this is also where it's important to say, with these different styles of Buddhism, that a Lama kind of has a crazy way to get elected, when they see a
Yeah.
kid and they feel like, sometimes kids just running by or something, and people from a monastery, they see like a kid that is special, like that is alone or like has a crazy mind, then they feel it's reincarnated by the old one. So it's more like a tradition, I guess, in Tibetan style.
Hmm.
I
Yeah,
don't know,
it's like
was it?
culture.
I think so. But in the Thailand, like in the Theravada, I don't think there is like this one. I think there's just like this big Buddha statue.
Hmm.
Or, or what have you experienced? Like, would you say they had somebody higher above them, or was Buddha not just like the synonym for, like being a Buddhist and like for just having a physical explanation for them?
Mm. Yeah, in Southeast Asia, they have three main, no, no, two main ones, Theravada and Mahayana.
Hmm.
I was practicing mostly uh, Mahayana, which is the focus is on like compassion and helping all sentient beings. And there's also Zen in Japan, which is widely practiced.
Hmm.
And it's so interesting because they all have different techniques. But no, in Theravada, I don't think they have a leader of that. Just the Buddha himself, which they like adorn the temples in very lavish stones and gems and gold. And it's so funny, like Buddha wouldn't want that. That's the
No, no,
life
no,
that
I
he left
know.
to become the Buddha. Like it doesn't make sense. But anyway, I don't want to talk bad on anyone's beliefs or whatever. But um, I
No,
also identify
no.
like partly as Buddhist. But
Hmm.
yeah, um, it's interesting.
It is
I
funny.
also like for me the Dalai Lama is problematic in many ways. So I don't really like I'm sure he's just another human. Like I'm sure he has many great things to share. He's a
Um,
good person, but a lot of things I'm like, don't really don't vibe with
No,
what
no,
he
no, I
stands for.
understand. I'm also not a big fan of worshiping. That's what I
Hmm.
basically loved about Buddhism, not worshiping like worshiping him. It's not about him and stuff. So it's just about myself and like what I'm gonna do with this.
Yeah.
So that's also like interesting to say. Yeah, I don't know. I'm also like a little bit biased by this, I'm also like, after all this kind of things, like you see when people getting worshipped, like how problematic it turns out, like people think they
Yeah.
can do anything, and I think it's in our heads some kind of problem with like power,
Hmm.
that the most of the time we also had good leaders, but like we still have problems to be absolutistic, like. we shouldn't be like this. You know, nobody should be like this because it can happening and changing at all. You know. So
Mm-hmm.
of course. But you know, oh my God, we spoke so much now. I love it. Or I would say when this works good, I would love to have a second, like a second, talk with you because now
Yeah.
when we're talking, I'm also like, dude, we also still need to tell what is Theravada. And I also have this story. Oh my God, this story will blow your mind after this. But tell it first, like the listeners, maybe in the end, also what Theravada is, you know?
Okay.
Just for
I want to hear your story though. I'm excited.
you first or I first?
You.
Okay, because this is really about cycle of life now. So
Yeah.
but this is a really famous story. I think you might know this. It's called yeah. It's like a woman named Kisa Gotami. She lost her only son and was overwhelmed with the pain. She carried the lifeless body of her child through the streets and asked everyone for help. Finally, she was taken to the Buddha. He promised to help her if she could bring a mustard seed from a house where no one had ever lost a loved one. Kisagotami searched every house but everywhere. Someone had experienced loss. Finally, she realized that death and suffering are universal experiences. So she let go of her son and found solace in the teachings of the Buddha. So what it teaches, it's like life and death are part of the cycle. Letting go helps to overcome suffering. And the point of this, like I shortened this, you know, because it's like it's a long, long story. So
Mm-hmm.
like in the real story, the woman was walking around, she was like asking, and then she figured out, ooh, everybody lost somebody, and then she realized, okay, you know, I can't change it, you know. I'm not like in this position of like changing the fact. So I have to let go. Otherwise, I could never get on, you know. And this is literally how life is, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. And this like this kind of little things helping me sometimes because when I was a kid I
Yeah.
was always like I was always crying, you know, and like being like, oh fuck, one day my parents and I we will not be together, you know, this kind of
Mm-hmm.
things. And this also helps like to let go of this bad thought that we have about death in the society also, you know, to be
Mm-hmm.
afraid, to think this is the worst that could happen, you know?
Mm. I
Yeah.
feel like that's why most major religions are formed is like humans are having an existential crisis of like, is this all there is? Is like I live for 80 years and then it's over? No, like people want to have a bigger meaning than that. So
Mm-hmm.
um naturally we create like this concept of feeling relief after we die. And I also believe like the soul never dies. It's just energy.
Mm-hmm.
So even when our loved ones die, they're not gone. They still
Mm-hmm.
live in us. They're still with us. And yeah, that brings me a lot of comfort as well to know like, yeah, I can still talk to my dead grandparents at any time. All I have to do is
Mm-hmm.
like speak out loud to them or pray to them or like talk to them in my head even and I can feel their presence and um yeah, that's helped me a lot is knowing like the energy never gets destroyed. It just
Mm-hmm.
evolves into something else.
Did you also had like weird signs where you felt like, okay, now they listen to me? Did they gave it in any sign to you?
Mm, when my grandma was passing away, I was doing a project in Thailand, like building a school for this mountain town in the middle of nowhere, pretty much near Chiang Mai. And yeah, my grandma like passed away and I just got the news. And then like this, I was crying and reflecting and like alone. And as I was like, I don't know what kind of thought process I was having in that moment, but obviously it was like grieving my grandma. And this beautiful flower just like starts to fall from a tree. And then it like
Mm-hmm.
fell into my lap.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know, it was just like really meaningful for me in that moment because it had like 5 flower petals representing me and my family members. And it just like reminded me of my grandma. And for me, that was a sign like, oh, this is how she just communicated to me now. Like everything is peaceful and it's all okay. And yeah,
Wow.
I've had a lot of, let's say,
Mm-hmm.
mystical experiences like that,
Mm-hmm.
where it's like a synchronicity, where it's too much of a coincidence to be a coincidence. It's like
Mm-hmm.
a line, like you have a thought in your head and then you see it as a message on the billboard, and you're like, okay, this is like the cosmic joke, right? Um,
Yeah.
and yeah, I think again, like anyone can experience this. I'm not special because I receive messages or whatever, but yeah, I've had a lot of
Mm-hmm.
experiences like that for sure.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. Yeah, I also had it when my grandpa died. Like he was the smartest man I know, like he was
Hmm.
beautiful, smart. I know, I had a bond, And when he
Yeah.
died, out of nowhere it was raining, and out of nowhere the sun was shining. Out of nowhere. It was raining
Hmm.
before. Like it was not like, oh, it rains and then the sun came just for I don't know how many seconds and then the rain came back. Like,
Hmm.
what the fuck? And people like,
Hmm.
oh no, I don't believe it, because we're so stuck in like not believing in anything anymore. Like we like, I mean, it's not real anything what we do now, So it's also important to say, like, we need to take it open, like for this. It's not a science or something. It's just like
Yeah.
I don't know. It's just like little signs that tell you there is something crazier than we think it is.
So much, so much
Yes,
magic
yes,
in the world.
yes,
Like, seriously, there's so much magic that exists
yes.
with us now. And yeah, if you don't have that in your life, like, I'm so sorry, because it's one of the most beautiful parts of being alive is like seeing the magic everywhere in even the
Hmm.
mundane things like rain or a cloud. Like, yeah, of course I want to think that it, like, believe that that's magic. Definitely. And it doesn't matter what anyone else thinks or believes. And I've also learned to kind of to keep those experiences to myself. As you were saying before, like when you tell another person about your dream last night, they're going to get bored and they don't give a crap, because as me, the dreamer, I'm experiencing it in such an emotional, personal way that they can't even connect to because they weren't there.
No,
So often I don't like even share those mystical moments with
no, no, no,
people
no,
unless I really feel like it will be received and like they also can relate to it. But yeah, it's kind of a lonely journey as well, because it's like so exciting, like they're so amazing what you can have, and you just want to like share that with others and be like, wow, isn't it so magical, like what the sky can do. And people are like, no, I
I
don't.
know.
It's like, okay, fine, no problem.